Welcome to Sleepy Hollow, where we believe diversity is beauty. 21 countries and 17 languages are represented by our 350 students. Excellence and equity guide us in all that we do. Both are achieved with our parallel block scheduling and extension center program. Academic emphasis at Sleepy Hollow is on reading, writing, math, and technology. Join us now as we see teachers and students at work in classrooms, the library, extension centers, and the tech lab.
I like it because I come here and I learn new things every day.
It's more fun for me to teach, and I think it's more fun for the kids to learn.
There's no question that the quality of the teaching has gotten better and that what the kids are learning is better.
This is just a sampling of the many positive feelings expressed by students, staff, and parents of Sleepy Hollow Elementary. Why are these people so excited? We found the answer to this question during our visit to the school and would like to share our findings with you. At the core of this excitement is the parallel block scheduling system, a system not yet tried in any other school in this country. Parallel block scheduling means that the school day is broken into 45-minute periods. At the beginning of each period, half of the students leave the classroom to participate in what is referred to as extension. The other half stays in the homeroom, where they receive intensive instruction in small groups. During extension, students get hands-on experience in activities that reinforce concepts they have learned in their classrooms, or they attend special needs or extracurricular activities. This system allows small group teaching, cooperative learning activities, protected teaching time, shared teaching, and the use of manipulatives, all of which create a productive, efficient, and fundamentally sound learning environment.
Well, it's fun and you get to learn things, and we have really nice teachers in extension.
It allows students to also extend what they learn in the classroom, and so that helps to solidify all the knowledge that we try to get them to understand and know and work with.
Science lessons at Sleepy Hollow are almost always hands-on. The staff follows the theory that the students must understand the concrete before they can move on to the abstract. Once they have mastered the concepts through using manipulatives, they can move on to higher levels of thinking. Parallel block scheduling reduces the student-to-teacher ratio, allowing for the use of manipulatives, not only in science, but throughout the curriculum. With the smaller class sizes, the teachers can provide the individualized attention required by observation activities and experiments. In addition to using manipulatives, science lessons usually involve problem-solving and cooperative groups. They require students to hypothesize, observe, and experiment, and to record their findings. This is Mrs. Duckworth's Extension Center, where these fourth grade students have come to receive an extension of their regular classroom science lessons. While they are here, the rest of their classmates are in their homeroom receiving a lesson from their teacher. In this lesson, students will practice their observation skills by comparing and contrasting seashells.
We're going to be looking at their differences and similarities, so it's really important that you develop this scientific eye to look at things closely. So this is what we're going to
After the whole group instruction, the students work in pairs to look beyond the obvious and share their discoveries with each other. The objective is to compare and contrast the shells and put them into categories.
Black and white shells. Here's another black and white shell. Here's another tiny. Ooh, here's another one. Oops! Oh my gosh, there's some small ones in this.
Several exercises were assigned to give the students some good observation practice. The first was the line game. While one student formed a line of shells in a progression, the other student guessed the pattern of the progression, such as small to big or light to dark.
Oh, I already know your pattern. I already know it.
I think it's this is all big, and this is all medium, and this is
That small. Yeah.
Look at the
In another exercise, called the detective game, one of the partners played detective using clues given by his or her partner to find a particular shell.
On top, pink. This? No. Close. Very close. Give up? Yeah. This one.
Students enjoy using manipulatives and working in pairs. This offers them a unique perspective and allows them to help each other through obstacles.
What's next?
Okay, ready?
I'm ready for it. It is very small.
The students will take the skills they acquire in this lesson and apply them to later lessons in the classification of rocks and minerals. After a few more exercises with the shells, the students return to their homeroom, where they would receive instruction from their regular classroom teacher. Also at this time, their classmates came to Mrs. Duckworth's Extension Center for their science extension lesson. The students have 5 minutes to get to their designated classes.
Our fifth graders, you may line up for extension now.
This is Mrs. Malone's 4th-5th combination class. After the 5th graders left for extension, the 4th graders continued a science lesson that they had begun on nutrition.
We're going to use something that really looks scientific. It's a strip of paper. And this strip of paper will change colors according to how much protein the substance has.
The previous day, they determined the amount of fat in various food samples by performing tests on them. This day, they were measuring protein and sugar. They began with whole group instruction, where they made some predictions.
All right, let's start with our predicting now. How many of you think, let's put a P up here for protein. How many of you think pretzels contain protein? We're going to test to see if you're right.
They then broke into groups where they received samples of foods such as green beans, peanut butter, and tuna fish.
You can just take a look at what you have there. Make sure you get a little bit of each kind.
This lesson is part of the National Geographic KidsNet program. The students are learning to perform scientific tests and analyze results. They will use their newly acquired skills to research the nutritional content of school lunches, then telecommunicate their findings to students all around the United States. Through sharing this information with others, they will discover nationwide trends and learn how culture impacts nutritional habits.
All of you thought that tuna fish was going to have protein. Let's see if you're correct. How many of you think it's going to have sugar, since we're doing the sugar test too? A little bit of sugar in the tuna fish?
Yes. Probably.
Well, we'll find out in a matter.
On Mrs. Malone's cue, each group designee dipped a test strip into the sample. After a few seconds, the group checked the strip for a color change, indicating the presence of sugar.
It does have protein.
Yes, it does. And it has sugar, too.
The students enjoy working in groups and also like the element of surprise involved with these tests. With the knowledge they gain from the lesson, they will have a better understanding of nutrition and be able to make healthy food choices.
I learned a lot of different stuff about foods.
I think it lets me get to know much more quickly children's abilities, strengths, interests, and then therefore alter my curriculum as best I can to fit their needs and interests.
The staff at Sleepy Hollow is dedicated to giving their students a solid foundation of math upon which they can build their futures. Computers and manipulatives serve as vital tools for laying this groundwork. Math lessons are taught like science lessons, that is, based on the theory that learning goes from concrete to abstract. These first graders, for instance, are building a graph with a familiar object, their shoes. Once they have mastered the concept of graphing with tangible objects, they will be able to create graphs using pencil and paper. This is the computer lab. All students come here once a week as part of the math extension program. Each child gets extensive hands-on experience as they use the computer to practice and reinforce concepts learned in their regular classroom. In this math extension class, Mrs. Bloxham is using M&Ms to teach first graders how to graph. The lesson was obtained from the Ames booklet and coordinated with the classroom teacher to extend lessons taught in homeroom.
What I'd like you to do is place your M&Ms on the graph. For instance, for red, you're going to show me how many red. You're going to place the M&Ms right on there. Stephanie, how many M&Ms are you going to place on here? 2. So you actually pick your M&Ms up off the sheet and you place 1, 2, just like Kim is doing. Exactly right.
They started with whole group instruction. They emptied the M&Ms out of the bag, then separated them by color. After calculating a total for each color, they represented their findings on this graph. They then received individual bags of the coated chocolate candy, along with worksheets to create their own graphs. They put the manipulatives directly in the blocks to make the concept of graphing easy to understand. The next step was to replace the M&Ms with coloring to make an actual graph. After this, the students analyzed their graphs and wrote comparison statements about the data. From this lesson, they learned how to create a graph and read it, how to interpret the data, and how to form comparison statements. Using a familiar and tasty manipulative made this a fun, interesting, and concrete learning experience. It was then time for a class change. These students returned to homeroom. After half of Mrs. Zaky's 5th grade class left for extension, the other half settled in for a cooperative activity in decimals. As did other classes, this one began with whole group instruction. Volunteers came to the front of the class to assist Mrs. Zaky with her demonstration. They used the overhead projector to work through a sample problem.
Use them to complete the decimal numbers. The 7 stands for 7/10.
The 7 stands for 7/10.
The objective of this lesson was not only to learn about decimals, but also to practice teamwork and cooperation.
Now, what are we going to have to do to be able to solve this problem? Do you think Nikki can do it by herself?
No.
I can't do it by myself because all I have are 1s and 3s. You can't do it by yourself. Robert can't do it by himself. What are we going to have to do to solve this? We're going to have to work together.
They then began working in their groups to solve puzzles. The puzzles are numerical statements containing blanks. Only certain numbers inserted in the blanks will make the statements correct. The job of the students was to figure out what these numbers were. The catch was that each group member had a part of the puzzle and a part of the instructions. No one person could solve the problem alone, so they had to work together.
Does anybody have a 5? You have a 5?
Yeah, I have a 5. Where do you want it? Here?
Yeah.
Or wait, no, that's supposed to be 0, so it's 7. Yeah, that's supposed to be a 0. So we need a 9. Who's at 9?
This was a culminating activity for the decimal unit that they had been studying. It served as a fun way to review what they had learned and as a time to cultivate creative problem-solving skills.
Add 1 to that, so that would be 7. But in other words, we would need to have something that would be 11 in that and that.
Math is a subject that needs close attention from the teacher. Because of the small class size, Mrs. Zaky is able to provide that attention. And the small class size makes cooperative activities such as this one possible, allowing a great deal of student interaction.
3 holes. Say it's all 3 holes, 3 tenths, and 3 units. Yeah, but we have to find these parts first to see if 3 and 2 will equal that.
I think it's a very good program. I think it's very fun. And I think that, well, I'm glad to do it.
Because apparently, the #1 reason for people being fired from their first job is that they don't know how to work with other people, not that they're incompetent at their job. So I feel that that's really important, and we do a lot of cooperative learning activities.
To prepare students for a future full of technology, the Sleepy Hollow staff is making a tremendous effort to give each child as much computer experience as possible. Keyboarding skills are learned at an early age. As part of Extension, these students are in the library using Type to Learn software. As various phrases are typed, the computer alerts the student when a mistake has been made, and then calculates a score based on time and accuracy. The students keep a log of their scores to monitor improvement. KidsNet takes the children beyond keyboarding and into the world of telecommunications. As they communicate with and learn about people all over the country, they are learning about modems and communication software in addition to getting practice using a mouse. Students are even introduced, believe it or not, to computer programming. They use Lego building blocks to construct simple machines. Then, by programming in the computer language, Logo, they can make their creation move or light up. Ms. Duckworth is helping this 5th grade class to build a stoplight and make all 3 of the lights work. Each group received a kit of Legos containing the pieces necessary to assemble the stoplight. Accompanying the assortment of parts and gadgets was an instruction booklet, which the children used to guide them through the steps of construction. The students practiced their cooperative learning skills as they worked together to create their machine.
Turn it. Oh, you see those things go first. Okay, now. Which color do green and yellow. I have yellow. Now where should we put them now? We put them over here, because it shows over there.
After completing the construction of the stoplight and attaching the wires, each group took their project to the computer. The first step here was to connect the wires to the correct ports. Once in place, they were ready to begin programming.
How long do we want it on? Space, 40 seconds. 4 seconds.
The children decide the order in which they want the lights to work and the amount of time they would like each to stay lit. They follow the instructions carefully, typing in the commands that will make their light work.
Now go back up to street light because that's your program and push return. Now that's the red's on for 4 seconds and the green's on for 4, 5, and it's off.
Sometimes it works on the first try, and sometimes it doesn't.
I don't see what's wrong.
In this case, the students have to put their heads together and use creative problem-solving skills. Sometimes, to get it working, they need to use the trial and error method and some group discussion. If this doesn't work, the teacher is close by to lend some assistance.
And now what's the next color, Ben?
Red. Okay. Let's see.
Enter the same thing.
Take your time. Will it work? There you go.
Good.
Success.
Okay.
The enthusiasm that the children have for working with Lego Logo is immense. This is a time to shine for students who don't have great success in the typical academic class. They show a different side in this atmosphere of creativity, problem solving, and building. And since Lego Logo has no language barriers, English as a second language students can also excel. The students will build on what they learned in this lesson and move on to more challenging projects, such as making the lights work on a sensor. Lego Logo develops their understanding of simple concepts about how machines work. With this experience, science and technology become an exciting and non-threatening part of the students' lives. And from this, Sleepy Hollow expects to produce plenty of future scientists and engineers. Library technology is also introduced to students at an early age. As part of Extension, these 3rd grade students came to the library to research some historical figures from Fairfax County. The information for this research was not to be found in the traditional manner, however. These students would use the latest in library resources. Mrs. Black, the school media specialist, showed the children some new ways to look up information.
Any of you recognize this? Do you know what this is?
The students immediately recognized this as a compact disc.
And we have a whole encyclopedia on this compact disc. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to put it in our CD-ROM player, and you'll get to see how you can look up information in the encyclopedia on the computer. And now she's going
The group
to
moved
push
over to the computer, which is called the Information Finder, where Mrs. Black explained how to do research using the CD-ROM.
And now she's going to push enter on the keyboard, and it says it's searching for John Mosby. And you
The
see
Information
yellow?
Finder allows searches to be done by subject,
last
title,
name,
or
and it
author.
tells you how to pronounce
So they
it.
tried typing in the subject name, John Mosby. The computer retrieved some information about him, and the students printed it.
Which would you like to print? The whole article. So click on whole article. Move it down just a little bit. Now click right there. All right. And now it's telling you to push enter. So can you push enter?
Searches can also be done on keywords, such as Barton. This is a more broad search which can come up with many more listings.
And look where the computer has taken us to.
we got a lot.
Now let's go back to the beginning of the article. Click it on Clara Barton. And do you see?
The traditional card catalog is now obsolete at Sleepy Hollow and has been replaced by an online computer. The students are comfortable with this, as is evident from their instant mastery of the technology. They use their keyboarding and mouse skills to type in their search terms and move through the information with ease. Next time they come to the library, they will be able to do these searches on their own.
It was more fun to do stuff on the computer.
The students' times are not wasted, and we're also able, because we're teaching more efficiently, we're able to do more fun things with the extra time that we have with the kids. So we are able to implement a lot of technology that we haven't before.
In the area of language arts, the focus is on reading and writing. In Mrs. McGinnis's Writer's Workshop, these fourth graders were learning to add detail and descriptive words to their stories. As a class, they revised this paragraph by adding more descriptors. Then, they each chose one of their own writings to improve upon. After reworking their stories, they read them aloud and received feedback from their classmates. The younger students are learning to read by the method of assisted reading. With this method, the teacher reads aloud while the students follow along in their own book. They typically use a repetitious and predictable book in assisted reading lessons so that the children can easily recognize words and memorize phrases. Mrs. Avis was using the book Thy Friend Obadiah in an assisted reading lesson. This lesson served as an extension of the second graders' Colonial Day celebration. This week, the second graders were learning about the dress, culture, and music of the colonial days. Students, as well as teachers, dressed in costume, sang songs, and participated in other activities related to this time period. Today's reading was the first part of a three-part lesson. The students were introduced to Thy Friend Obadiah and received some background information about story setting, which was Nantucket Island off the coast of New England. Then, by looking at the title and the picture on the front of the book, they made some guesses as to what the story could be about.
Now, who do you think Obadiah is in this story? Who do you think that Obadiah might be? Tommy?
It's a lady that gives him a coin in his hand.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Once acquainted with the story, the students were ready to begin assisted reading. As Mrs. Avis reads aloud, they follow along with their fingers, word by word.
Wherever Obadiah went, a seagull was following him. Make sure your finger's underneath while we're reading. It followed him all the way to the candle makers. And it was
Periodically throughout the story, the students are quizzed on the events that have taken place.
What's happening so far then about that, Alex?
The seagull's always following the little boy.
Okay, he was waiting for him outside the candle makers. Put your finger, turn the page. When he was sent to the war,
After each section, they summarized the action and gave keywords to be placed on a chart under the heading of beginning, middle, or end. After doing this for each section, they will analyze the chart to gain a better understanding of the components of a story and the function of each.
anything else? Alex, can you take a look? Anything else that happened here? We see next day, seagulls gone, snowing outside, the millers, and or flower. Anything else?
He made duck tracks in the snow.
Okay, we can put duck tracks.
Through this exercise, they are learning to read and paraphrase, in addition to learning new vocabulary and the parts of a story. The older students' language arts study includes the Junior Great Books program. This is a 5th grade extension class where Mrs. Rogers is mediating a discussion of a classic. They are learning about this book and other literature by what is called the shared inquiry approach. The teacher uses high-level thinking questions to initiate investigation into the deep meaning of the text.
I think that the Nightingale did forgive him because he helped the king get well, and that would make the courtiers get more happy because their king's getting better.
The discussions are meaningful and lively as students explore the author's purpose, motivation for particular events, and other aspects of the story. They express their ideas and are often challenged by their classmates. There are no right and wrong answers in these discussions. They are merely a platform for practicing critical thinking skills. This format excites and challenges the students, motivating them to read the story and participate in class activities.
It's fun because we have a teacher that's really, really nice, and, you know, she gives us, and it's fun to read in groups and all that.
Since we have parallel block scheduling, the children cannot be pulled from whole group. When I have my 26 children together, that time is sacred.
This is the basis for the success of the parallel block scheduling system. Communication and planning are vital in a system where every staff member is responsible for every child. Formal planning meetings are held weekly, and informal discussions take place constantly. The teachers plan their lessons together so that extension activities will complement and reinforce classroom lessons. They also address concerns about particular students and share possible solutions to these concerns. Principal Dr. Miller takes pride in having a hard-working, dedicated staff, which she describes as a community of collaborators, visionaries, risk-takers, and learners.
I like the teachers and I like what we do here.
Our school is great, I think, as far as the teachers and the cooperation and the sharing that goes on among our teachers in particular. I think it's very special.
From what we saw during our visit, it seems that Sleepy Hollow is a very special school indeed. The teachers are pleased with the smaller class sizes, the students enjoy learning with manipulatives and computers, and parents are thrilled with the quality of education that their children are receiving. Although parallel block scheduling is a new concept, the staff at Sleepy Hollow believes it is one that will be around for quite some time. It is an efficient, equitable system which utilizes every staff member to his or her fullest potential and keeps the students working and focused throughout the day. In tough budget times, this system is seen as an effective way to save resources without shortchanging the students.
I think it's a great school. I like their extension since it makes it much easier and we learn much more.
We've seen many changes in the students since we implemented the program. First of all, they are very happy. They are always happy. They come in smiling, they go out smiling.
Both of our kids have had an exceptional experience. My daughter in particular, since we've seen her progress through 6 years here at the school, I think has done extremely well.
I don't know how to sing its praise. It's enough.